Welcome to Get on the Arc. I'm Darren Conrad, your host for the show, with my guest Steve Slepcevic.
Perfect.
All right.
Very well said.
Welcome, Steve. And we were introduced by a mutual friend, with Amy Schaefert and Donica Hudson, and a lot of people in this movement. And the whole purpose of this platform is just to share the truth of what's really happening. We don't get it from the mainstream media, so we have to go through back channels. But anyway, welcome, Steve.
And, well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. And so if you could just tell us a little bit about, first of all, your faith journey, and then I know you and your wife have a story, personal story with vaccines and stuff like that. And then just kind of the journey that you're on right now. So I know that you're doing a lot.
Yeah. I mean, my personal story is my parents are immigrants from Serbia. And they went through persecution back in the day for the fact that in Serbia, for example, my father, when he turned 18, being a Nazarene Christian at that time, and they were more towards like the Mennonite type religion, very conservative, spent 7 years in prison because he wouldn't take a gun. And he wouldn't swear to king or country that, he'd kill another man at all, right? And it's interesting because all his uncles who were Orthodox Christian were the Chetniks. They were the ones actually fighting the Nazis in former Yugoslavia, and also the Ustaše. And all their lives were taken because the priest snitched them off. And Orthodox Christmas Eve, they were sitting there at the dinner table, and from the child to the grandmother, they all got killed. Because they were the ones that were feeding the peasants. They were the ones that were fighting the Nazis. They were the ones actually also responsible for saving the downed U.S. airmen that were flying over Yugoslavia from Italy and bombing the Pulaski oil fields in Romania, which was, Hitler's war machine. So after 7 years in prison, he got out. He was out for about 30 days. He got resentenced to another 7 years. And so him and a couple of his friends that were in prison with him that all got the same resentence for another 7 years escaped into Austria, where he sought asylum, eventually made his way to Canada on a visitor's visa, and then, ended up down in Southern California. Obviously, went through Detroit, came into California, but he came into the country illegally because he overextended his visa. And it took him 16 years to get his citizenship, right? And even though we grew up in LA, in the hood, my father's shop was in Long Beach, and he had from blacks to Asians to Hispanics that were his mechanics. Even though he got shot at, dogs poisoned, cars jacked, for him, he was just so grateful to be in America. He was one of the most just loving and powerful American patriots. Like, he's like, America's given me so much, and he raised 5 beautiful kids. We were raised in a very loving home, in a conservative home, but we never forgot where our parents came from, because we saw it in their eyes when they talked about communism and what it was like, and being raised in a Christian home, we had no TV. We didn't celebrate any holidays. We didn't. My parents were ultra conservative, but very loving, non-judgmental, just operating from a space of love and not from a space of judgment. And so I was baptized at 18, and I went through many, many battles in life. And I feel that at the time, I didn't recognize it, right? I looked at it like, why are these things? Why am I going through these challenges? Why is my life getting upheaved and disrupted so many times? And all this pain and suffering involved in it, and all this ugliness of, building a company, losing everything, going broke, right? Just all the devastation. And it was like a clear voice that came to me. God was like, because I couldn't use you before. Until I stripped everything that was your ego, I couldn't use you. But notice below you. Why are you fighting for the old life? Look below you. There's a new set of tracks, and it's taking you where I'm guiding. And if you tune in and you trust in me, I will bless you richly. And in that process, that moment of humbleness, right, in humbling, have gone through the fire, felt like there was nothing left of me, was when it became very clear that life's about serving a purpose, right? I'm not here to punch a clock. I'm not here to check in and, try to hold on to what I consider scarcity on this planet, on this earth, right? Let me accumulate the things, right? But a life of purpose, a life of service, right? And so even my industry has evolved into, let me lead with the medical side of it, right? Let me lead with the security side of it. Let me lead with that absolute need, and never it be about money. I can't tell you how many times we've gone missions and literally almost went broke in the process. And my wife going to me, hey, we're going to bankrupt us. How are we going to pay for all this? And I would be to her, I'm like, honestly, I don't know. And through miracles upon miracles that have showed up in my space, things just got handled. Money came in, things got handled, things got paid, but we never led with that. And so my faith every moment of every day continues to get strengthened, right? We worked like even, people ask me like the stuff that we did in Helene, right? God led that. We pushed a team of paramedics up into Helene, called my helicopter pilot and said, hey, we're going in there. What are we doing? Where are we going? I said, I don't know yet, but just start moving. We'll pick what we call our BOO, our base of operation when we get there. We walked into Hickory Airport. Everybody was leaving. We stood up the airport. I put my battalion chief, fire captain to run the entire ops, the whole org chart, the operations. We ran all the aircraft coming in. We put out a message to all the private independent helicopters. And before you know it, we stood up Hickory, we stood up Foothill, we got a call from them, and then we got a call from the Samaritan's Purse. And incredible people over there as well. And they're like, hey, we do a lot of things well, but this is an area we don't know, Steve, and we could really use your assistance. So we set it up, and as God would have it, completed over 500 medical rescue missions, and over 1,000 Starlinks that were delivered throughout the entire mountain region to all the volunteer fire departments. And the amount of aid that got pushed through that area was nothing next close to a miracle. January 5th and 6th, we were there at ground zero, right? And then I saw the entire orchestration of the fabrication of what they call an insurrection. And to me, my family in Serbia started laughing. They're like, oh, you guys call that an insurrection? So no one showed up with guns. They let you in the buildings, right? And you didn't burn it down and didn't drag the politicians out. Well, let me show you how we do insurrections. And I was like, there's 33 medics down there, right? We watched this thing unfold. I didn't go into the Capitol building. I could see it being orchestrated because some of our security professionals that are on my Sabre Defense team are like, that's not what you want to do. Here's how it's look at that person, look at this person. That's an orchestrated event, And then General Flynn calling a group of us to come into Polk County and sit down and learn what was happening in America. Right. And then getting a call from Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk saying, hey, Steve, I want you to come take us to the border. And we did a 6-part docuseries called Border Battles, exposing all the rape trees, the unaccompanied minors coming through, the fentanyl coming through, the all the stands and all those countries that hate us, the busloads of Chinese nationals, the busloads of West Africans, no women, no children. The kids that were being drugged, that were being brought across the border on multiple situations, the bodies. I mean, that exposure was massive. And then having Bobby Kennedy call me, who's a close personal friend of mine and our families, who's just an incredible American patriot, standing up against Goliath, Big Pharma, and this massive medical establishment. We took him to the border for the Midnight at the Border documentary, which was it's on YouTube. You can find it there. But here's a person who has been unwavering, and so many people in our conservative Christian movement that are now in power, it's amazing how God has put us in these positions. We've provided security for Tulsi and got to know her on a personal basis. Another amazing patriot, right? And then with the devastating news today with Charlie Kirk, who's been a personal friend and a brother to me. I mean, it's been an extremely difficult day for me and my family. And just having spoken on many stages over the last 4 years with Charlie, just bringing the truth to the American public, right? It wasn't even political. It's just saying, here's what's happening in America. You can either wake up or you cannot wake up. You can scream that I'm Islamophobic, but my family's from Serbia and been under the Ottoman Empire for 500 years. We know how the movement and how Islam works. And if you're believer of Islam, you don't coexist with the Christians. The Christians will coexist with Muslims all day long, but when that uprising happens, it doesn't change, you know. And recently got back from Syria. We were there for about 10 days with my security partner, Byron Rogers, and my head of my medical team, paramedic Michael Savager, who runs our critical response team, who's a flight medic, paramedic. Um, one of the top guys instructors on the USAR team. But we're able to get in there with the team into Israel and see, visit the different kids in the hospital that were shot, some that were heavily injured, the families, the parents, the soldiers, the Jews and Christians that were fighting together in a southern part of Syria called Sweda, where over 2,000 people were massacred, right? Um, Babies thrown off buildings, over 100 women that were trafficked and kidnapped out of there, and then they sent a message out saying, "Don't worry, we'll bring your women back in 9 months with our babies." Um, I could tell you all day long about the atrocities and what we've seen, but to be able to push into Syria after we briefed the congressman of what was going on, they got the State Department approval on it for us to push into a place called Hadar. And then IDF was there with us, the Mossad, the intel side of that part with the Druze leadership. But if people start paying attention that there is an absolute war going on Christianity today, and if America doesn't wake up, it's not too far down the road that it's going to be coming down our streets, and we're going to experience something we've never experienced before here in America. So when people say that it doesn't affect me, it's going to affect you if you don't pay attention to what's going on around you and get involved in this process.
Yeah, absolutely. There's people. I know General Flynn says local action makes national impact, and there's people that are like hungry to do something, and they're like, point me in the right direction. Where do I go? There's so many different lanes that you can jump into. But what are your thoughts on that, or suggestions on people that are, kind of in the living room watching the news, but they got to step up and take action?
Yeah, listen, it's simple. Get your house in order, right? Starts with spiritual. Then get trained. It's like the funny thing is people go, "Oh yeah, I got a gun." Well, that's like going to Guitar Center and buying a guitar. It doesn't make you a musician,
Right.
right? Get trained up. Be the protector of your wife and kids, right? Learn about what a grid down scenario may look like so you're not a victim, and then live a life of an extreme accountability. I mean, those are simple factors, but America is getting soft. People show up at their Starbucks, their triple filtered latte with the foam's not the right temperature. They don't have enough sprinkles or syrup on it, and they're skinny jeans and they're losing their shit. It's time the men show up for their wives and their kids. It's time that men show up as men and actually be that what they call a gentleman. A true warrior is gentle, is loving, is protected. There's a natural spiritual confidence about him when his life is squared away, right? He's not an abuser. It's not toxic masculinity. It's the alpha that protects the pride, right? He knows he's bottom line, you know? Um, and men raise their boys, train their kids, get involved, be there, be present, stay off social media, stay off your TikTok and scrolling and being unconscious.
Right. Absolutely. It's amazing. I just, the other day I don't know if it was at a restaurant or somewhere. I try to go places without my phone. I try and detach from my phone as much as I can, but it's like it's almost like they're being led by this, this false authority across the country, whether it's, people putting authority in the news, thinking that's what's leading them, or they're putting authority in an NFL team, or, you name the authority, but it's everything but God.
Yeah.
But I do see a movement. I do see that changing. I do see a movement of God across the country, at different universities, and
Today is a pivotal point, right? Charlie
Yeah.
was a beacon of light. He was a hope. He was a movement that moved a youth that movement that's never been moved in history, right? And this should be a war cry, a rally cry for our nation, that stop being PC about the leftist, intolerant, murderous type of movement, this ideology, this globalist movement. It stop like bending and kowtowing to this type of stuff. Time to stand up and just be loving, but own your voice. And it's amazing how many times people go, well, you run a company, you can't really say those things. Listen, if your heart speaks it and your spirit prompts you, say it. If the person gets offended, you know what? That's none of my business. It's
Right.
none of my business. Oh, you got offended? Well, then maybe something for you to take a look at. What is coming up for you that you're offended? Because what I said was simply truth, wasn't there intended to offend you. But if it triggers you, maybe something to take a look at, you know?
Absolutely.
But again, I come from a loving space. I'm not there to cause an issue, but I'm not going to hold back in fear of like, that's where you lose your voice. It happens in relationships. How
Right.
many husbands, when the wife starts running her mouth and starts popping off about stuff, oh, I'll just keep my mouth shut. Well, what you're doing is you're moving the fence post each time. And you think your woman's going to respect you? Just be
Right.
honest. Hey, woman. Notice how you just said that. This is how I'm here. This is what I just heard, right?
Right.
So yeah, don't talk to me like that. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
if that window of opportunity opens and closes, be loving, but don't be afraid to challenge it.
Right on. Yeah, I mean that's one of the biggest problems in our country is that we've been this politically correct, make everybody happy, say what everyone wants to hear. It's what's happening in our churches, a lot of our churches, and schools and homes and everywhere. So it's like you're condemned to talk about the truth. Like, don't ever say there's just male and female. That's too honest. you know, it's ridiculous, really. What's been
But it
happening?
takes it's a small chiseling of that, right? It's a
Right.
small chiseling, right? Well,
Yeah.
be careful how you address that person. I make
Yeah.
no apologies.
Yeah.
I'm not fitting into your pronouns. I'm not addressing you that way. You're offended, run along.
Right.
I'm not playing your game.
Right.
Knock it off. Right? So when they get that kind of feedback, they're almost like shocked. Like, but not
Right.
my problem.
Right. And change
You may
change
not
your
want me to think. Yeah, so it's like you may not want to invite me over for Thanksgiving or to your social gathering. A few of the people that are really snowflakes are going to really have a difficult time. Um, and sometimes my wife's like, "Can you just hold it back?" So I do. I'm like, "Okay, this really doesn't serve in this environment. Like, know your audience." But sometimes I'm like, "Oh man, I just can't hold back." So let me ask you. Then I'll ask them the question. I'll turn around. So where do you come up with that thought process?
Yeah.
And by the time they complete the circle, they're so lost on their own ideology. They don't even know themselves.
Right. Well, we've been programmed, three things not to talk about, right? Sex, politics, and religion. Those are the three things we should lead with.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate I have parents that, they're bold. They're not snowflakes. So they've instilled in me to speak the truth and stand up for it. And that's a great place to start.
But it's voices like yours, right? That you're out there creating a platform, putting the truth out, not shying away from it, right?
Right.
Just putting it out there. So it takes powerful voices like you, like the Charlie Kirks of the world, that this nation deserves. The more people like you that step out, that allow the conservative voices, and simply just the truth, right? It's not conservative liberal, but when you just simply speak truth, it's hard to argue with results,
Right.
right? Someone says this, that, this, that. I'm like, okay, but based on your results, let's take a look at what your results are proving. What is it actually manifesting? Do you
Right.
like the results? Well, if you like the results, keep doing it. But based on results, it's really not working where you're headed.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Results don't lie.
Well, you look at the fruits, man. What kind of fruit are you creating? And the fruits of the spirit. That's what we all should aspire to, or at least want. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So what?
And many
What's
times, go ahead.
what's a good way for us to support you? Is it your website?
Yeah, listen, I mean, you know what? Those that have, skill sets, be it first responders, paramedics, dive teams, drone pilots, security operators, again, people that are skilled that have their credentials, they can always email us at response at SRP24, you know. If it's security wise, they can always email me at steve at sabreteam.com, SABRE team.com. Um, and then another way just to contribute is, we've been we run our own nonprofit called Autism Health, um, that we've been giving back to the community. We run a yearly conference. We just completed a big autism health walk in Huntington Beach. There was one that ran in Virginia, another one in Utah, another one in Florida. And it is about assisting families, providing treatments, education, practitioners for those that don't have the financial wherewithal in the autism community. Um, Bobby's been a big supporter of ours. My wife wrote the book called Warrior Mom,
Mm-hmm.
a mother's journey in healing our son with autism by treating his underlying condition, which is just a huge conversation. She's also going to be on the Autism Roundtable in DC in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Um, that's a great organization to support because 100% of it outflows to the community. Um, that's just kind of a vehicle that's been part of our life's journey because our son was fortunate to make a great recovery. He's 20, fully functioning, just got back from Japan. He was there for several weeks with his middle school friends. Um, but again, he was severely vaccine injured, loss of speech, eye contact, started losing his motor skills, started having seizures. And the doctor said he would never live a functioning life, right? But my wife, who just went all in on biomedical, integrative, changed his complete diet to be completely holistic, gluten-free, casein-free, hyperbaric, stem cell therapy. And she literally wrote the book on it. So, you know, um, and I'm always there. If anyone's looking for a disaster plan, right? They want a personal disaster plan. I'm happy to share what we have and the resource links that they can reach out to. There's not a promo code. I don't do that. I just tell them, here's what I have on our go bags for our cars. The best thing you do is get a Starlink, mobile Starlink or a sat phone. We have sat radios that we carry as well. But in all disaster areas, the first thing that go out is communications, right? So those are great things to have. A good resource for that is Tina Blanco. She owns the satellite phone store, which is sat123.com, I believe it is. But the communication controls chaos, right? But if they
Right.
want a disaster template that we have and resources, they can email response at srp24.com, and I'll have Michael, one of the associates there, share it with them. Um, but yeah, listen, you know, um, my life is life of service. The next moment something happens, we're typically in those zones on day one. So feel free to reach out to me. Like when I can, I will jump online, and just to give you a quick soundbite, like here's what it is, here's some footage, here's some live streams so you can see what's going on at ground zero. I'm
Okay.
happy to do that for several people in our movement. Um, just so people have the real truth information that's actually coming, because a lot of misinformation travels really fast. And I keep myself unfiltered, impartial, let people make their own decision, what they see and what they hear. Um, and if people have any type of capabilities, resources, they're free to welcome, reach out to me. I'm like, it's a community, right? We all make each other stronger, more resilient and better, you know.
Right on. Well, Steve, thank you. I know you got a hard stop, but thank you for your time today. I appreciate you, brother, and
I
thank you for all
appreciate
that
you as well.
thanks for all that you do, man.
Yeah. And please keep Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, and their kids in your prayers.
Absolutely.
Um, nation's going to go through a very difficult time right now. And I always say, man, just be love, just be love, just be love. Because right now we need to heal this country. We need to heal each other. And we got to just, understand that we're dealing with this is a war. It's a war on Christianity. It's a war on conservative values. So, thank you,
Yep.
thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Steve. God bless you. And thanks
God
for
bless
watching.
you too, my brother. Be safe out there.